Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now let's welcome our main speaker for tonight, Dan. Dan, alcoholic. Completely recovered from the disease of alcoholism. Just going to levitate in a moment here. Where's Justin? Justin, thank you for asking me to share tonight. And Mike, thank you for doing such a good job and really talking about the disease for me. And welcome to the newcomers. I think there were 7. Did somebody count the newcomers? Were there 7 newcomers tonight? Welcome. 8. I hope it hurts a lot. I hope it hurts a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to pick on you, Patrick, but my friend Patrick is sitting down here, and Patrick and I have been, we didn't know we were going to be at this meeting tonight, but Patrick and I have been on this journey together for years. We've known each other for years. And he's got a few days sober, and he said for the first time something happened to him. And it was in the bathroom when he asked God for the first time to relieve him of this obsession. And he's here. For an alcoholic with alcoholism, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. When this stuff goes away, when you feel it, that's what these 12 steps are about for me. That's my experience. I'll just give you my the vital statistics. By the way, I'm going to be 40 years sober. December 31st, 2026. But who's counting, right? If you do the right math, I'm 18 and a half years sober. One of my favorite gags to do in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I asked Gene just before the break there for the 20 questions. Everybody know what the 20 questions are? Are you an alcoholic? If you in the back of the room, most good literature guys have this. This is 20 questions. It's Johns Hopkins University Johns Hopkins Medical Center designed this to find out if you're an alcoholic. It's just a questionnaire. If you answer 2 or more yes, you're most likely an alcoholic. If you answer 3 or more, you are an alcoholic. But I was sober a long time, 4.5 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I had my last suicide attempt at 4.5 years sober. And I went back through this work, through these steps, and it occurred to me that something was wrong. And I'm going to tell you what was wrong, because I'm going to show you on the 20 questions what my experience was. I changed one word in the 20 questions. I'm going to read you a couple of questions here. I changed one word. Do you lose time from work due to thinking? Have you ever gotten into financial difficulties as a result of thinking? Do you crave a think at a definite time of the day? Do you think to escape worries or trouble? And here's a couple of the zingers there. Has your physician ever treated you for thinking? Have you ever been hospitalized or institutionalized on account of your thinking? So, I don't know about you, but my problem is here. You know, and the relief comes through the experience of an application of 12 steps. That what happened to me, and you know, Patrick and I talked about it, and Mike and I have talked about it. Justin, again, thank you for asking me to share this. You can't tell somebody. You can show them. I can tell you how to jump out of an airplane. I can describe it to you. I can tell you that you put the parachute on, and then there's the little extra parachute, the pack you strap to the front, and then you're going to hold on to a rip line, and the plane's going to go up to 30,000 feet, and then the guy's going to open the door, and then you're going to walk up, and he's going to say 1, 2, 3, and you're going to. But the actual experience of jumping is something very different than reading 12 steps. The actual experience of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as a way of life is pretty amazing for me. And so I go to a lot of meetings. I go to fewer now. I have a small, my son's going to be 1 year old next week. I have a, and I am so blessed. So I used to go to a meeting a day. Now I probably go to 5 meetings a week, you know. But I have this incredible relationship with the woman of my dreams. My wife is, I'm 5'7". She's 6 feet tall. She's, she used to be a model. She was a model in Europe, and she was a runway model. And I have no idea what she saw in me. No idea whatever, but she asked me out on a date. And we've been together ever since. And now we've got this amazing, August 3rd, he's going to be 1 year old. His name is Michelangelo Giovanni Fante. And he's amazing. It's amazing. So, but but I want to talk about just for a moment. I had I don't want to bum you out, and I certainly don't want to start a death meeting. But I had, you know, when people in share meetings stand up at the noon meetings, people are always standing up and say they just want to check in, and I just want to say what's going on, man, and then they tell you about the IRS and cancer and whoever died, you know. And just so happens that I lost my mother about 6 weeks ago, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my mom. I'll probably skip around a little bit here, but I was with my mom was 91 when she died, and she died over here on Ocean Avenue at a assisted living where there was somebody in her bedroom every half hour, 24 hours a day, and they took her up and put her in a wheelchair and brought her to lunch, and I was sitting next to my mom when she passed away, and I was holding her hand when she took her last breath, and she was in no pain, and I was reading her poetry. I was reading her The Lady of Shalott by Tennyson, and that was her favorite poem. And this is a woman who, a few years before I had gotten sober, who sent letters out to all the people that work with I'm a writer, that publish, and all the people that telling them never to publish my work. that she would not have her husband's name or her family name associated with the garbage that I write. You talk about a healing. And I'm sitting there with my mom holding her hand, and there's nothing there except love. And the fact that every time I brought Michelangelo Giovanni Fante to her bed and put him up on her bed, she just glowed like a light, like somebody plugged her into a light socket. And I could see the energy, I could see her light up. What a gift that is. And and my mom is gone, and all this stuff, I was talking to my sponsor about it because I was there holding my mother's hand when she died. This is a woman who wanted to disown me. This is a woman whose family name, I lied to, I hoodwinked her, I did terrible, terrible things to my mother. And I was holding her hand when she died. How do you get there from being a falling down alcoholic? How do you get there? Well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. As I didn't say this, but I'll start by telling you that Alcoholics Anonymous didn't work for me. That I was 4.5 years sober, and I had my last suicide attempt, and it wasn't working. And this is the meeting. I had my first commitment, my first goddamn commitment at Alcoholics Anonymous was right there 18 and a half years ago, right at that door. And I asked Liquor Store Dave, who was my sponsor, I said, what do I do? I've never been a greeter before. And Liquor Store Dave said, you hold out your hand, dummy, and you say, your name is Dan, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. Can you do that, dummy? Liquor Store Dave used to thank me at the end of a meeting when he was secretary of a meeting. He'd thank everybody, and then he'd thank me for not sharing. I was 6 years sober. He used to introduce me to people. He didn't call me by name. He'd say, and this is untreated alcoholism. We had an interesting relationship, me and Liquor Store Dave. But he did do something. He did something which is very kind. And it's not going to sound kind, and if you're new tonight, it's going to sound scary. But I got here with a lot of stuff. I'm a $1,000 a day telemarketer. That's what I am. I make $1,000 a day on the phone. Rain or shine or don't matter. That's my goal, and I do it. I make $1,000 a day. Now that was when I got here. A couple of years, or about a year after I got sober, I ran into a little problem. You see, I had started these steps, and what was happening is when I had you on the phone, and you were one of those people that was between me and that $1,000 I was going to make that day, what do you think I would say to you to get you to buy? Anything. Anything. And now I'm a year or so sober, and I can't say anything anymore. I can't do it. It won't come out. So now I have a series of unfortunate stories and a downward spiral in sobriety. And I lose. You should have seen my girlfriend when I got here. She was an aerobics teacher, okay? This girl was a 10, okay? I had a house on Speedway in Venice, okay, that I'd bought. I took over the payments from some chump, and I had the world, and I was driving a $90,000 Porsche. And I was 4 years sober, and I knew where all those things were. They had just relocated out of my life. And I was living in the back bedroom of my mother's house. So I got sober for this, you know? And I'm like whining to Liquor Store Dave. And Dave was not one who was really, he wasn't really empathetic, do you know? He's one of those, there's some people here that know him. He wasn't this glowing urchin of charity staring back at you. And as a matter of fact, he had a very low tolerance for people, for big shots. And I was a big shot. And so I was cleaning my gun for about the fourth time. I mean, it's, you know, I say it in jest, but they're deadly serious. And I got my gun, and I was cleaning my gun, and I said to Dave, I can't, you know, it's just all going. I mean, one more time something had they'd taken my car. I gotten an auditing notice from the IRS. It's just one awful thing after another happened to me. I lost 3 businesses in 2 years. People backed me, put money in 3 and they all went broke. They went broke so fast that I had a business. We set this business up. We bought furniture and paintings on the walls and staffed it. And 2 weeks later, it shut down. Everything I touched, you know, turned to caca. And so I'm whining to Liquor Store Dave, see? And Dave says, okay. He says, listen, do me a favor, asshole. You got the gun there? Yeah, I've got the... He said, work these steps like your life depended on it, or pull the fucking trigger. And then he went, and he hung up. And he got my attention. For the first time in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was fresh out of good ideas. I could no longer fast shuffle, no longer talk my way out of anything. I was at the end of my rope, and I knew it, and he knew it. And he turned me on to a guy named Bob Anderson. And Bob had 43 years of sobriety. And Bob was a mechanic. And he's a big guy. And he used to sit in his finger, he had hit his finger so many times with a hammer, it was like busted and crushed, but he used to point at me like that. He'd say, what you don't understand about Alcoholics Anonymous is that it's a disease of the thinking. Your thinking there's something wrong. Your thinking is warped. You cannot go to that mind for business advice. It's going to come out the same way every time. And that's the problem. And I began to study my thinking. I began to see the way I come into a meeting and I judge the different kinds of coffee cups that are why do they have two different kinds of coffee cups? Why do people park in the back of the fucking thing when it says don't park? They should take a tow truck. There should be an armed guard out there to dump these stupid bastards. They should be pulled out of the meeting by the scruff of their neck and brought out front, humiliated in front of everybody and then they should have their asses hauled off someplace, and they should take sledgehammers and bash their cars in. See how that attitude might not get you everything you want in Alcoholics Anonymous? You know, and I have this mind that's constantly judging and constantly... My last ex-wife, and I've had a few in Alcoholics Anonymous. I met her at a meeting. I used to call it the Whiners. It was over here off the freeway in Overland, in that park over there. What was that meeting, John? It's on the It's at Overland. Yeah, it was, but it was on Monday night. It was. Yeah, it's at a park right there, and there's a rec center, and it's right next to the freeway. Anyway, they called it the Winers. Yeah, no, not Rancho Park. It's right on the 10 freeway. There's at any rate, my wife, my third ex-wife was, I don't know whether she was secretary or treasurer or something. She had long blonde hair, and the moment I saw her, I knew she was in love with me. And that's how I started out. And it took me like 8 months to convince her that she was in love with me. And and then another 2 or 3 months to convince her to marry me. And about 3 months into the marriage, she convinced me that it was the wrong thing for us to do. But see, that's what I do. What I do is my mind goes out of control, and I don't know it's going out of control. It's giving me information. I got a broken brain. 2 and 2 make 6. Jesus Christ, what do you do? I mean, Ron and I were talking about this before the meeting. I'm detoxing. I've got a mind that keeps feeding me information about you. Do you notice? It's always about the way you drive and the why. And Jesus Christ, why can't you we have this thing at home this water purifier. Why the hell can't she just turn the thing right side up? Well, why? I'm not going to let her come to bed unless she just turns that. And it just goes on and on and on. And I'm 18 and a half years sober. What are you going to do with a mind like that? So I'm talking about alcoholism now. This is what happened to me. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. It's not about alcohol. It's about cigarettes, but it's about alcohol. It's about alcoholism. In my job, I write books, and I used to, up until a few years ago, once or twice a year I would go to Europe. And I quit smoking in 1989. I was 3 packs a day as a smoker. And I quit smoking in 89, but I got this great idea, this keen thinking of mine, that I could smoke when I was in Europe. And then I would come back on the airplane, and I would quit. I would bring the patch or Nicorette gum, and it's a 14-hour flight, and I'd get back, and I'd quit. And I'd buy 2 cartons when I went over there for 10 days, and I'd quit on the way back. And I did this a few times, many times.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
And I would tell you, I'm a non-smoker. I haven't smoked for 15 years. No. No problem for me. But this woman who I was dating, I don't know why she didn't marry me. But this woman I was dating, she lived in Redondo Beach, and she had this house. It's a little tiny house, and I came back and I was still smoking. But I didn't want to tell her that I was still smoking. And so I came back, and it was the first weekend we were sitting, and I used to stay with her on weekends. And we were going to bed. We'd come in from the movies or something, and I'd said, now I'm going to talk about alcoholism and defending my right to drink. She said, well, let's go to bed. It's a beautiful night. I'm going to go out on the porch for a minute. I just want to sit out and enjoy the moonlight. Where do you get horse shit like that? Now I was about 15 years sober. Where do you get a message like that? How come it comes out so fucking easy? I'm going to go out and enjoy the moon. I don't want to enjoy the moonlight. I want to suck on a fucking Marlboro Red, baby. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my fix. But all of a sudden, somebody who I've worked the steps, I got sponsored, I got sponsees, I'm sober, I go to a lot of meetings. All of a sudden, these lies are coming out of my mouth, one after the other. And then the next day, because I hadn't quit, and then I'd like smoke them, and then I'd stick them in this plant. And she said to me 2 or 3 days later, she said, my plant is dying. Did you put out those cigarette butts in my... Oh, cut it out, Debbie. Jesus Christ, why don't you grow up, I wouldn't do something like that. And then the next morning, I'll never forget that it was a Sunday morning. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And she'd say, well, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to get the breakfast. I said, let me take out the garbage. Let me get all the garbage. Let me get it all out. And here I am in the alley, like sucking on this... But do you get it? Do you get that it was so easy? It was so easy. It was so easy to lie to her. It was so easy for me to tell myself, that's what the king needs. The king needs a cigarette. And you know what? Get out of the king's way. Because I'm going to take care of number one. I know how to take care of number one. I did the same thing with the drink. Don't you know? I did the same thing when I wanted to drink in my marriages. I could justify anything. And pretty soon, when you've got a mind that goes right into me first, and you do that with alcohol for about 10 years as a heavy drinker, you find that you're an alcoholic. You find that your thinking is warped. Glass in hand, I warped my mind. Now I can't think. The logic 2 and 2 aren't 4 anymore. They're anything I want them to be. And I justify it. I don't know I'm lying. I'm just a liar. I can date 3 women at the same time and lie to each one of them. Look them straight in the face with, I'm a little older now, but I had this cherubic sweet face when I was, about 28. And I could talk shit, and I could just lie to you, and I would be incredulous when you'd catch me in my bosses. They'd catch me in my lie. I don't believe it, Anyway, what happened for me is that I found out Bob Anderson told me that my alcoholism was in my mind. That's what was killing me. Sober. 10, 15 years sober. The justice, give me a pack of cigarettes, give me anything that put anything between me and what I wanted, and that thing has got to go. Where does it say in the 12 and 12 that we are incapable of forming a relationship with another human being? I think it's page 46 or in the 12 and 12. We are constitutionally incapable of having forming a true partnership with another human being. There's something else I'll read to you. I won't read it to you. I'm going to impress you. I memorized it. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles spiritual in nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, will expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. Practiced as a way of life. That's the part I missed. That's the part alcoholics of my kind miss. We don't understand. I didn't get 4.5 years sober when I had that last suicide attempt. I didn't get what was wrong with me because I was standing on that door right there and I was fine. I was shaking your hand and how are you? My name's Dan. And you'd say fine. And you'd say how are you? And I'd say fine. And then I'd go home and clean my 357 Magnum. Scary. Did it for years, for like 2 years. I wanted to check out because I kept losing stuff. I'm going to tell you my taxi driver story. If you don't think I'm a real alcoholic, I really haven't even told you about my drinking yet. But if you don't think I'm a real alcoholic, this will give you a clue. I was a New York City taxi driver for 7 years. Okay, that qualifies me. Okay. That in a drink, will get you 5 to 10 in Sing Sing, It was an innocent morning on 3rd Avenue in New York City. I'm talking about alcoholism now. This is my story about alcoholism, okay? About thinking. Do I crave a think at a definite time of the day? Like it says in my 20 questions. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was going up 3rd Avenue in my taxi. And in those days, it was the early 70s, and telephones were still a dime, and there wasn't any air conditioning in taxi cabs in New York. And in the summer it gets real warm in New York City, real warm and real humid. But if you go 30 miles an hour on 3rd Avenue from Houston Street on up, you can catch all the lights, 27 or to 30 miles an hour. Catch every green light all the way up. And my thing about driving a cab was, and I was a real good cab driver because I don't have a life anyway, so all I did was, I drove a cab 12 hours a day and then drank until I fell asleep, and then I did that 6 days a week for 7 years. And the relationships came and went and all that, but that's what I did. I just drove that cab. And anyway, I was supposed to go in for a physical for my insurance for my taxi garage, and I called the day dispatcher. I had to stop, and I never stopped. I was one of those guys that drove with a little coffee cup, and I would pee in the coffee. I would never stop. I would just drive I drove, and I would eat those hot dogs, those Sabret hot dogs in New York. If you know New York, and I think Alan probably knows those, they will rot your stomach. You can't last longer than about 3 years, and you have to check in somewhere, get a transplanted stomach from those Sabret hot dogs. Anyway, I'm on my way up 3rd Avenue, and I pass 34th Street, and I pull over. I get my changer, and I walk out. And I got to call my garage to make this appointment about my health insurance with my taxi company. So I put a dime in the phone booth. And I put a dime in, and I don't hear anything. And I look, and the cord is torn out of the, and they're phone stands, and they're not phone booths anymore. New York got hip to phone booths a long time ago. Now they're phone stands because weird things happen in phone booths late at night. So this is a phone stand, and I've got this. I take this thing off, put the dime in, and this thing comes out, and so it took my dime. So I get back in my cab. I, of course, naturally slam the thing back down, and I get back in my cab and turn the flasher back off, put my changer back on, and I go 2 blocks further to the next phone stand. And I pick up a phone and put the dime in the phone, and now I've dialed the number, and she says hello, but she can't hear me talking. And I look, and I feel the phone feels a little light, so I unscrew and sure enough, some prick has taken the inside of the speaker out, and I can't. So that's 2 dimes I've lost now in phone booth. Now, I'll tell you what I did. I decided, now I'm a guy that works 12 hours a shift on the seat. I have that little cup I pee in, and I stop and get those awful hot dogs, and I make pretty decent money. But you know something? It was during the Vietnam Wars, 1972, and I wasn't going to let the phone company fuck me out of 20 cents. Okay, the military-industrial complex is what's wrong with this country. Okay, Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew, them 2 chumps, and and they started this war. It was illegal, and and all of a sudden I get my trip sheet and I turn it over on the blank side, and every 2 blocks on 3rd Avenue up to 86th Street is a phone stand. And I recorded the phone number and location of 36 out of order. I spent my day, the rest of the day, recording the phone numbers and locations This is important shit. When I got to about 88th Street, people are getting up and leaving here now, you know. That's okay. It's okay. I got to 88th Street and I called this operator, and sure enough, you know, the dime doesn't have to work for you to get the operator. And she was this New York operator, so after you dial the O, and I said, listen, I want to report 38 out of order telephones, and there's a long pause, and she says, I said, you're going to need a pen and I wanted to be helpful. I said, you're going to need a pen and pencil to write, a pen and paper to write this stuff down. She said, go ahead. And I got to about 4 or 5. Now, it's kind of detailed because remember, now it would be the southeast corner of 44th Street, and I would give her the phone number and then the exact location and so forth. And I was about halfway through this list, and I got the distinct impression nobody was listening. And when I got to the end, and I said, she said, you're done? I said, yes, and now I want to tell you something about the military, about AT&T and the military-industrial complex. And then I heard this click. And it all happened because I'd lost a dime in a phone booth at 34th Street and 3rd Avenue. 2 dimes. Does that make sense? To an alcoholic, it makes sense. There are people sitting out here who are saying, yeah, fuck them. Yeah, let's get them. Some guy in the line at the supermarket, 10 items or less. Let me ask you a question. Is that 6-pack? Is that 6 items? Or is it 1 item? How do you know? Well, you ask the guy, you say to the checker, hey, excuse me. You demand your rights. You got to demand your rights. And it's important to apply that in marriages too, okay? You need to get your rights. You need to get them to listen carefully. I've been married 4 times. 3 times sober. How much time I got here? Okay. So, I was having a problem with my drinking. Also, you know about my thinking. I've told you about my thinking. But now I was having a problem with my drinking. I was running a limousine company in Hollywood, and I somehow managed, from the taxi business, easy enough. If you don't have a life and you're willing to work 16 hours at a stretch, and you know the city, people are going to think you've got something on the ball. So I went and started driving. I misplaced my taxi driver's New York City taxi permit in a porno movie, and I refused to get another one. I hated driving in cabs so much. And a friend of mine said, a really good friend of mine said, have you ever tried driving a limo? And I said, no. And he said, well, call this guy up. So I called the guy up. I started driving a limo. 3 years after I started driving a limo, the guy that owned the limo company in New York said to me, do you want to go 50-50 partners? We'll open a limousine company in Los Angeles. I said, sure. I thought about it for 20 seconds and what the hell, I had nothing but dead bodies in my life anyway, all these ex-wives and girlfriends and never paid taxes and all that. So all that shit. So I went back to California. He said, you know LA? I said, sure, I'll do it. So we opened the limousine company, and in 3 years, it was the biggest limousine company in Los Angeles. And I had this woman that I worked with. Her name was Jerry, but I called her the Spider Lady. And she hated me, and I hated her. And she was my bookkeeper and receptionist, and she was the dispatcher, and I was the guy who drank tequila sunrises in the afternoon and snorted cocaine. And we ran this business out of this apartment, and it got to be too much. She threatened me. She said unless she threatened me when I was drunk, and then I was trying to get her to understand my point of view, and it entailed me pursuing her around the apartment, and she had ducked behind a corner, and she hit me with this umbrella that was folded up. I know because I had this mark of a U, like across my chest the next day, and she said, if you don't, clean up your act, do something, we're done. And it's funny because I had this dog. I bought her a dog, and I named the dog Banana. And I taught it a sign language. I would hold up two fingers like that, and it would attack me. I never understand this. Anyway, so me and the spider lady, I had this business, and I tried to quit drinking. And she threatened she was going to leave me. So I went down on Sunset Boulevard, because to quit drinking, you have to find the right doctor. And everybody knows the right doctors are on Sunset Boulevard. So I went down on Sunset Boulevard to this the American Institute of Hypnotherapy. And I took a course to quit drinking. And the guy said he guaranteed me results. Now I want you to know, I had a lot of money because I didn't go anywhere, and I had this woman who hated me and who watched me everywhere I went in a limousine. Oh, and by the way, the other thing was, I had hair then, and I had the only thing I had really got bloated out because of my tequila sunrises in the afternoon and the amount of illegal substance I was doing, and I had the only thing that fit me was this velvet blue suit, and it had a vest on it, and I would ride around in one of my limousines. We named them after the color of and this one limousine had 6 pounds of crushed pearl in it, so we called the limousine Pearl. When we'd radio, we'd say, Pearl to Cocoa, and it was like, and so I was in Pearl, and I swear with this long blonde, people thought I was the guy Paul Williams. You know who Paul Williams was? I was this like little pink-faced asshole. You know what I mean? So she told me that, to get legs if I didn't get straightened out. So I went down to the American Institute of Hypnotherapy, and I paid the equivalent of $10,000 to get over alcoholism. And the guy said he's going to cure me. Gave me a guarantee. So, and I had tried a lot of stuff, and I couldn't quit on my own. And I'd been to those AA meetings, and none of that shit didn't work for me. So I went to the American Institute of Hypnotherapy, and the guy, I remember, he put earphones on me and reclined me, and blinders, like for people who blackout blinders and earphones, and they recline you in a chair, and all I remember is this recording tape saying you are going deeper and deeper. And 3 months later, this is a true story, I would pick up a drink and it would taste like it was awful, and I stopped drinking. That was done. I hadn't had a drink for the course was 3 months. 3 months later, I hadn't had a drink, and it tasted like awful. And I was at this Mae West's 86th birthday party at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. I was invited because she used my limousine company, and Mae West was 86, and she was about 4'11", but she had, you talk about big hair. And she had spiked heels, and she had a train that these guys. So I met Mae West's birthday party with the spider lady, and we get out of Pearl, and I got the blue suit on, I'm looking like Paul Williams. Of course, we're not talking. She goes her way, and I go mine. I'm like hitting on some waitress or something. And And a guy comes up who I knew, who had known years before when I worked at Ocean Park here when I was a kid, and he's an actor. He's Dr. Pinkham on General Hospital. I hadn't seen him in years, and he says hi, and we're standing there talking, and one of the guys comes by with this tray, and you know how the vapor is on the side of the glasses, and the little drops are running down, and there's a twist of lemon in it, and there's one with a twist of lime. And I said, well, what do you got there, pal? And he said, oh, these are gin and tonic. Just so happened, gin and tonic is my drink. I said, let me have one of them. And I'm looking around for the spider lady. She's over there on Black Beauties. Oh, the other thing about the spider lady, she's fucking eating 3 Black Beauties, a day. She's like, and it's a warm, giving relationship we have. And so I take a sip of this gin and tonic, and really, if you ever put in two inches of water in the bottom of a glass and had everybody in the room dump their cigarette ashes in it, and then somebody's got to drink it. There's some truth or dare or some jerky thing, and you got to drink. That sip of that gin and tonic tasted like 3 cigarettes worth of ashes at the bottom of a gin and tonic. It was awful. So I took another sip. And I want you to know something. By the 3rd drink, I was cured. I was back at it, a fifth a day, no problem. Fifth a day, 2 grams a day, going for it, 100%. And what happened for me, because I'm going to wind it up here, is at 4.5 years of sobriety after a suicide attempt, I sat across the kitchen table from a guy with 43 years of sobriety, and he said, you better work this like your life depended on it, because you've got the kind of a brain that's going to kill you sober. And it gives me a chill, because I'm talking to people here tonight who have the kind of a brain that's going to kill them sober. The shit I do sober gets me, I can't stand it. I got to have some relief. When you got a mind like this, I got to have something between me and this mind. It's no longer a drink, so what am I going to do? I mean, that's the booby prey. They don't tell you that when you get in here. They don't tell you it's going to get so bad that you're going to rock on your hands in these seats and you're going to wish for death. If you've been around here a while and you've gone through bankruptcy and hurt, the only problem with instant gratification is that it's not fast enough. What I'm talking about is when I need to be fixed, I need to be fixed now. When she leaves, I need to be fixed now. You tell me I've got, I'm being audited again. You tell me that she tells me she's leaving. What am I supposed to do now? In Alcoholics Anonymous, that's not funny. When that's all they promise you, when you come to AA, is a seat and 12 steps, and they say, don't drink no matter what. Well, give me a break. Because that's all I do no matter what. I drink no matter what. I fix it no matter what. That's the kind of mind I got. So here I am, and I listened to a man for the first time in my life, and he said, go home and ask for help. And ask like your life depended on it. And do these first 3 steps. And I did. And something happened, like happened to Patrick. Only it took me 4.5 years of everything being fine. It happened to me. I had an experience. I had an experience of the presence of God through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And and I'm here to tell you, it's not perfect. But I have an amazing life because I have a partnership with a higher power. I bring that higher power in the car with me, in bed with my wife, when I'm holding my 1-year-old son. I bring it with me everywhere. And I promise you, as I was holding my mother's hand 6 weeks ago, I got up from there and I walked outside after she stopped breathing. I walked outside and there were these long-stemmed roses that were blooming. They were white and they were red. And there was, in Santa Monica overlooking the bluffs on Ocean Avenue, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was 72 degrees. And I just thank God. I just thank God. Thanks for letting me share tonight.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. Shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.